Welcome back to season 4 of
A Couple of Multiples.
The Reality of Dissociative Identity Disorder. Did you know that according to a recent Harvard study, 93% of people living with DID are initially misdiagnosed by mental health professionals? That's a staggering statistic, and it's exactly why we're here.
This season, we're diving deep into clinical interventions. What actually helps when it comes to recognizing and treating dissociative disorders? Whether you're a mental health provider, a supporter, or someone navigating life with multiplicity, this season is for you.
Thank you for being here. Please share this episode with a friend, your therapist, psychiatrist, or colleague. Together, we can help improve access to accurate diagnoses and effective, compassionate care.
And most importantly, remember that every system is different. What works for one may not work for another, and that's okay. Your journey is valid, your healing is real, and we're so glad you're hanging out with
A Couple of Multiples. Today's episode is brought to you by
Healing Selves Therapeutics, PLLC, a mental health practice located in North Carolina, specializing in the treatment of dissociative disorders and trauma. Healing Selves is committed to serving the plural population through the utilization of EMDR, clinical hypnosis, expressive arts therapy, and other evidence-based practices.
Healing Selves was established in 2019 and currently serves North Carolina and Florida. We are committed to extending accessibility and currently accept most commercial insurances, Medicaid, and Medicare.
Today's episode is sponsored by Petals of a Rose, a short film about a day in the life of a woman living with dissociative identity disorder.
Petals of a Rose has received international acclaim for being an accurate and respectful depiction of DID. The most common response from DID systems being, "I've never felt so seen."
The film has subtitles available in 13 languages, and audio descriptions are included for the visually impaired.
Petals of a Rose is available to watch for free at www.dylancrumpler.com/watch-petals-of-a-rose.
Welcome, dear listeners, to our season 4 finale. That's right. It's the season 4 finale episode with Drew
and Garden System,
A Couple of Multiples.
The Reality of Dissociative Identity Disorder. We have had an incredible season. We have interviewed clinicians, we've addressed the treatment of DID, and we have all learned so much. So for our finale, we have an important topic to address that involves a personal story.
And goodness, do we have a story to tell you?
Yes, we do. And the importance of this story revolves around misconceptions and fears that people have about DID and the very real dangers of being out with this diagnosis so publicly.
The truth is, we have spent a great deal of time deciding if and when to tell you, dear listeners, about something that happened because of this very podcast and us being out about our diagnosis. After carefully thinking the situation through, we decided to use this event that happened to publicly address misconceptions about DID in hopes that the general public can become educated and not react out of fear. Honestly, that has always been one of the reasons that we started this podcast, to address the stigma and misconceptions about DID. More often than not, people with DID that are out with their diagnosis are discriminated against in the name of keeping others safe. Almost all of the media portrayals of people with dissociative identity disorder show them as unpredictable, unsafe, and Hollywood's personal favorite, murderers. We know a lot of systems personally, and not one of them has murdered somebody. In fact, in my more than 40 years of life, I haven't met kinder people than my other friends with DID. Collectively, we have been through literal hell and wouldn't wish harm on anyone.
This is so true. We have faced so much judgment, ghosting, cold shoulders, losing friends with most of the world. But when we found our community with other survivors and others living with multiplicity, we were shocked at the level of kindness, encouragement, and support we found. Now, there are some absolutely amazing singlet supporters, singlet therapists, and other singlet friends out there. And people with DID are also amazing, compassionate, caring, and just kind. We personally feel safest when surrounded by others with DID. Yet, it is so sad to see singlets hold such fear when they learn about our diagnosis.
Which brings us to the topic of our season 4 finale, me losing my job. Yes, you heard that right. I lost my job because a parent of one of my students found the podcast and got fearful. This is how the story went. I was called into the office for what I thought was a routine conversation, maybe about a new student or maybe checking in on the progress of a current one. Then I saw the way my bosses were sitting and the incredibly sad look on their faces. My body immediately started shaking, walking into the energy of that room. I waited while they got the third boss on Zoom because she was out of town. This was serious, and I knew it without a word being spoken. I was told that a parent of one of my students found the podcast and was concerned. They said this parent was specifically concerned that I would switch during teaching and not be able to switch back, and that this would cause a safety issue. My bosses continued by saying that they had thought for a long while about how to find a way around letting me go, but they couldn't find a way around it. This parent already started telling other parents about me and the podcast. And they also threatened to get DCF, the Department of Children and Families, involved if I continued to be a teacher at the school. This is when my bosses said they recommended I resign instead of them having to terminate me. They had me hand in the key to my classroom right then and there. And I went to pack up my classroom and had to ask my very confused co-teacher to let me in the classroom because I had no key. I explained what had just happened to my co-teacher as I packed. While I was packing, one of my bosses came to collect her grandchild from our classroom. She said, through tears, "I'm so glad my grandchild got to be with you in this class. I trust you." I left that day in complete shock and numbed out. The first thing I did was I called you, wifey. What were you thinking when I called you?
My initial reaction was shock that very quickly turned to anger. The entire point of this podcast is to spread awareness and reduce stigma. I wanted to fight for you. I very much wanted to take immediate action. The way this parent immediately leapt to the conclusion that you, despite your impeccable record and experience, despite the interactions with you that they had before knowing you had DID, just goes to show how much work still needs to be done to educate the world on the truths and the realities of living with DID. Just the knowledge that you have this is all it took for them to jump to the idea that a report needed to be made to the Department of Children and Families. And for what? Having a diagnosis is not enough to warrant a report. And there is such an incredible sadness that still lingers today. We could have fought this and won. However, you had many good reasons for not doing so. And even though we initially contemplated trying to right this injustice,
Yes, it was definitely a thought to fight this with legal action initially. But before going there, I decided to write an email first to my bosses and see what their response would be. This is what I wrote them. Hi there. And then I wrote my boss's names. Just following up with yesterday's conversation. I would appreciate knowing which episodes or videos this parent referenced when expressing fear about my ability to be a competent teacher. What puzzles me is that there have been zero incidents or actual complaints of my actions or interactions with the children, ever. In fact, I've only been informed of positive experiences with me and that our class has a long waiting list. I think there are a lot of misconceptions, myths, and stereotypes about dissociative identity disorder. I have never been aggressive, inappropriate, or unable to perform the skills required of me as a teacher. I am loving, kind, honest, peaceful, and solely concerned about the well being of the children in my care, as well as the parents' trust. When this parent brought up their concerns, could there have also been the conversation that there is no evidence of me being incompetent or dangerous? I have a clean record. I have been cleared by DCF to foster children in my own home. People have mental illnesses, and many are able to hold high profile jobs beautifully. Can I be an example of this? The fear of one parent is not enough to say that I'm incompetent. The only person qualified to declare me incompetent or unsafe is a mental health professional. I would be willing to talk to this parent, to explain and show my competence. The reason why we started the podcast was so we could smash the stereotypes and educate the public so there would be less fear and less people that are DID systems losing jobs or being turned down opportunities. Because this is the common story, and I don't want to be another statistic. I understand you may not want the trouble of it all, but even if this were brought to DCF, what evidence is actually there that I cannot perform my duties or am harmful to children? What evidence is there for them to even accept a report? I haven't done anything illegal, and I haven't done anything unethical. I could resign to not cause waves, but I'd be doing the situation a disservice, I believe, because I know my heart, and I think all of you do too, which is why all of you were crying when you were encouraging me to resign. I don't want to create a fake or cover up story as you suggested, because the truth is, I want to stay. I do have other job opportunities, but I love this school. I believe in your mission, and I love Montessori. Most of all, I love the children and the parents that want the best for them. Kindly, always, Drew. And that was my email. Jamie Pollock, the founder and director of An Infinite Mind and the Healing Together conference, also wrote a letter that was sent to them stating that terminating someone because of a mental illness is illegal. Jamie, my longtime friend, was ready to back me up if I chose to fight this. We all knew I would have won this case. At the end of the day, I decided not to fight this. My bosses are good people, and I felt they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. This parent was already telling other parents and spreading negativity and fear about me. If I tried to fight this and continued teaching at their school, they might have lost business from parents possibly pulling kids out of the school. Also, even though DCF would have nothing to investigate, having DCF alerted about the school in any way would bring a lot of stress to my former bosses. I didn't want that for them. I also didn't want to sue my bosses. They aren't a large corporation, and this would absolutely hurt them. Further proof, I am not out to hurt people. Even though it caused me a lot of stress, I immediately was able to secure a job at the school of my choice. I have a lot more to say. First, I want to give you a chance to talk here, wifey, about how my decision affected you.
Broken, discouraged, and devastated for you. Pursuing legal action could have potentially put the school out of business, and there wouldn't have been a job in the end. Yet, we were the ones who suffered, emotionally and financially, due to all of this. We're a family with two college students, two high schoolers, and a toddler. I mean, your resignation package came with just one extra paycheck to hold us over till you got a new job, and that wasn't enough. And see, this is what we do. We took on the brunt of harm to protect others, the other teachers and children, these bosses, and we were the ones left hurting. People with DID are much more likely to be re-victimized.
Watching us on video, you'll see that Garden System is crying because this is a big deal.
I'll edit it out.
Yeah. You don't need to. This is real.
People with DID are much more likely to be re-victimized. Parts of us wanted to fight, make a big deal, and we felt discouraged that we were just giving up. And it was completely terrifying to have our livelihood on the line because evil people did evil things to us as children. There's this saying and belief that hurt people, and that victims of abuse go on to become abusers. And while there is some truth to that, it is completely wrong and discriminatory to make an assumption that someone must be unsafe for surviving trauma, especially considering your long-standing performance. People living with DID work as teachers, daycare workers, professors, lawyers, financial advisors, therapists, doctors, nurses, engineers, etc. Like, you had more than proven your abilities over and over. And yet that seemed to mean nothing to this parent.
Right. All my interactions with this parent were positive. I have 18 years of teaching experience in a variety of age groups. I've been observed, assessed, and evaluated throughout my teaching career. My most recent evaluation, done at my new school just 2 weeks ago, had perfect scores in multiple areas. And corporate came to talk to me about how I did it and to congratulate me. I have a 100% clean record, no incidents or write-ups of any kind. But here we are, discouraged. And for a while, after I lost my job, I was going to give everything up. I wasn't planning to do the podcast anymore. I was trying to figure out how much to be involved in our private online community. I deactivated some of my social media accounts and deleted many public posts about the community, podcast, and DID. With each delete and decision, I felt like I was erasing my life, my purpose, my hard work, my identity, who I really am. People wonder why people mask. This is why. Masking hurts. And then it took time. And when the dark, gloomy clouds lifted and the brunt of the storm was over, me losing my job over the podcast gave me more momentum, more resolve and clarity of what is really important to me and what I was meant to do. I am meant to use my lived experience to help educate the public and provide support to those living with dissociation. Period. And suddenly, I knew I was okay with losing jobs over it. The risk is worth our mission. Don't get me wrong. I'm being careful with my new job. I'm going by my legal name. I direct people that want to be friends on social media to a specific account, and I'm withholding telling work people about my diagnosis, the podcast, and the DID community, unlike my last teaching job, where I was open and honest about all those things. My bosses knew from the beginning, so when this parent brought up our podcast, it wasn't a surprise for them. There is no right way, no better way, or only way to go about disclosure. Telling or not telling is not wrong. I do want all of you out there to know that I may have not fought this legally, but will absolutely use my life and voice to help make our community, the DID community, more understood and better supported. We deserve opportunities, understanding, and to be addressed without fear. We deserve to live a life without a mask glued to our faces. We absolutely deserve to live an authentic life after all the trauma we have endured.
Hi, dear friends.
We hope you're enjoying the episode so far. We'd love to invite you to join Hearts Multiplied, our private online community for people living with a dissociative disorder, along with separate spaces for clinicians and supporters.
Inside Hearts Multiplied, we host live events just for you, including social hangouts, little story time, teen D&D campaigns, online gaming like Minecraft and Mario Kart, and vibrant message boards on topics like intimacy and OEA.
We also offer a supporters group and a clinical consultation group for therapists working with dissociative clients.
And we Garden System facilitate 8-week peer coaching groups where we work on internal communication and personalized healing goals.
To learn more and sign up, visit acoupleofmultiples.com. We'd love to have you.
Disclosure is always risky. Disclosure is going to look different for everyone. Being out in this way, so publicly with the podcast, the community, and all that we do carried risks, and we both knew it. We had our struggles initially trying to go to grad school and then with the Florida board to become a registered intern. It is terrifying trying to find your place and where we truly belong sometimes. Yes, you have a new job, but with that came a lot of changes compared to how things were at your old school. Changes in pay, paid time off, your schedule, and just getting used to a new place with new people is still very daunting. Our whole lives were turned upside down. We still have to pay our bills and take care of our family, and we're in the middle of all that we do with the podcast and our online community, which are things we have been financially investing in for almost 2 years now. And we had to sit with and figure out how all of this would work out. Could we continue the podcast? Could we continue running our online community? These were scary months that we lived through as we continued to interview guests, edit episodes, and organize community events. How could we protect ourselves, our family, and continue to follow our passion and all that we have created? I knew in my heart that I had to continue with this path to keep the podcast going and to continue to grow our community. Dear listeners, you all have shared some incredible stories with us, and this work is just too important to us, despite the risks we face doing all of this.
So, we want to take a moment on this platform we created and use our voices to tell the world, that parent, our former bosses, our neighbors, the community, the public, friends, and complete strangers out there, why we are not something to fear. We want to address the concerns that caused me to lose my job in hopes that someone else can keep theirs. We were never provided with information of the exact episode or video that caused such fear from this parent. But my bosses did state that this parent said they were worried I would switch and not be able to switch back while teaching. I wish this parent would have listened to more of our episodes or videos because we do explain with clarity about how this works in systems. But we are going to take that moment now and explain. When I teach at school, I have co-consciousness, which means many of my selves are present, have knowledge, and shared memory at the same time, which also means I have access to all of their many skills and strengths simultaneously. For example, if my students are outside playing on the playground, I have access to all my selves that love playing. And what one sees is a teacher playing and interacting with her students. My adult selves don't leave. They are right there with my students the entire time. I have personally done extensive trauma reprocessing using EMDR, literal years of it. So I have a whole group of selves that now act as a fused unit that show up and interact with the world. And in this world of being a person with DID, this is as close to being a singleton as it gets after experiencing the level of trauma we have experienced. We interact and react as one solid, cohesive unit, an ultimate team.
And it is important to note that all selves will act in a manner that is protective of the entire system. Living with DID means that you have many people inside you watching everything that happens around you. Even when we have littles that are out and fronting in the body, they are never truly alone. There are protectors that watch over the littles to protect them. Switching is something that happens out of necessity to keep everyone safe from anything happening out there in the world. Everyone knows their job and will come to the front to complete their job as needed. The entire system is designed so that no one will notice the switching, not even the person living with it. How else do people make it to their 40s and 50s before receiving a diagnosis? We're aware of someone in their 80s who went their whole life without being diagnosed. Now, have there been times where we couldn't work? Have there been times when we couldn't control our switching? Just like anyone else with a disability, there have been times where we took FMLA leave. There have been times where we checked into an inpatient program. When PTSD symptoms are flaring up, people will need extra care, therapy, and treatment to help manage symptoms. Both you and I have now had years and years of therapy and worked through some of the chaotic years that many might go through when they are first diagnosed. Just like someone might call out sick because they have a migraine or the flu, we might call out because we are experiencing intense flashbacks. And some of our inside people need tending and care. Employers offer sick time leave, etc., for employees to use as needed. And if more time or extended time is needed, then there's medical leave. And when things are going well, just like other healthy people, we go to work. I think the idea of switching and even witnessing switching can feel really scary for singlet people because it is something that they don't understand. And media portrayals like Split just don't help. So, how would you describe switching and how it works for you?
Yeah, unlike the movie Split, when we switch, we don't turn into a murderous monster. Switching is seamless when it occurs. Being further along in therapy means I have control over it. Like explained in my system, 99% of the time, what we are is a fused conglomerate of selves that work as a single unit. The 1% is reserved for the infrequent emergency when we happen to find ourselves in a situation where we feel threatened or triggered. And listen closely, because I want you to really hear what happens. My protector self comes forward to protect myself and any others that happen to be around me. If anything, being my student, friend, or family member means when I know something is not right in the environment I am in, I'm hyper aware of it and I am ready. That being said, switching in my current life is me consciously choosing to have more of a certain self or selves forward whose skills or knowledge match what activity I'm currently involved in at that given moment. What is switching like for you, wifey? How does this play out at work?
Well, for us, switching has become about trust for ourselves. Some of us are better at social skills and polite niceties, while others of us are better at speaking up for ourselves or defending others. What came naturally for us before we knew we're a system became something that we learned to hone and control once we were aware of our other selves. And the system really does know best at who should be fronting. In general, we have found that allowing switching to happen as needed was most helpful for us to stay functioning. Trying to just be one part of ourselves put us at a disadvantage because we weren't whole that way. We were missing strengths and skills. Working together has become imperative in our everyday lives, and something we have learned is how smart, strong, and wise our littles truly are. I think littles get a lot of flack and judgment because they will do things like carry around a teddy bear, suck their thumb, or talk in that cutesy little voice. And sometimes they can drive. And sometimes they know our job better than some of our adult selves. Now, we're not going to have a little out talking to one of our clients, but they have opinions and thoughts about our clients, and we will listen to what they have to say because they are often right. We have several adult parts that contribute to the work that we do, and all of us participate in our work. We are better together rather than separate.
DID, separate selves come about because as little children, we were not able to hold the knowledge and experiences of the repetitive trauma we endured. So our minds split up the knowledge and experiences into separate containers or selves. So we could go about living and functioning instead of falling into complete despair, shock, or overwhelm. All states that wouldn't allow us to continue living in such a traumatic environment or situations. If some selves knew just part or parts of what was happening and others didn't, then we could continue living and functioning most of the time without anyone knowing something was extremely wrong, including some of ourselves. So, healing happens when selves are slowly revealed along with the memories or parts of memories they were holding. The selves are updated and oriented to time and place of the current life. Shared memory and connections are made across all selves. Selves learn about each other and discover each other's strengths. And then strengths can be utilized as selves step forward at appropriate moments in life. We are definitely stronger together. As far as littles in a system goes, littles are not like children that are biologically young. Littles in a DID system are selves that have been around the longest, in our case, 40 plus years. Therefore, unlike biological children, they hold 40 years of knowledge and life experiences. Littles are wise beyond their years and are loved and trusted for their strength and bravery for having survived the unbearable. So, singletons out there don't have to wonder if we are okay driving or making big decisions because littles not only have years of experience, but they are surrounded by adult selves that love and protect them and are always watching.
This is so true. So let's share and talk about how we worked through how we worked through the beginning of recognizing and learning to work with all parts of self, including littles. How did you first become aware of your littles, and what work have you done to help littles be oriented to the present day and time?
I first became aware of my littles when the spotty was a teenager. My parents were curious why I still wanted children's toys at Christmas, even when I was an older teenager. And when I got married, my ex husband wondered why we had over 400 stuffed animals and asked me to downsize when we moved in together. Some of my littles are still unhappy about this to this day. There were clues all along that we were a system. We just didn't have a name for it or understand what had happened or what memories were safely tucked away among myself. The first thing I started doing when I did have a name for it and knew I had littles was getting curious and finding out what each of them liked and disliked. This was important. Being able to comfort your littles and avoid things that scare them or they dislike helps gain their trust. Showing them around the house, explaining where everything is at and who everyone was in our life helped orient them to time and place. After that, including them in our daily schedule was very important. After work, we scheduled time where they could come out and play or simply watch and be around. And then eventually they started to share what memories they held. And we planned corrective experiences for them so they could get the things they should have had or wanted. How about you, wifey? How did you first become aware of your littles and what did you do to help them become oriented to time and place?
I think you touched on something extremely important here, and that is how you included your littles in your daily schedule. Yes, orienting them to the present by showing them where you live, what the date is, who you live with, and so forth is extremely important for any self, little or teen or big or whatever. When littles know that they live in a safe place where trauma is not happening, then they can truly start having life experiences with the other selves in the world. At this stage in our journey, our littles understand that we are a mom, a wife, and a therapist. They understand that we have children to take care, a romantic relationship where bigs enjoy intimacy rather than being terrified by abuse, and that we have a job that earns us money that allows us to live in our house, buy food, and just enjoy what the world has to offer.
This shared knowledge allows for cooperation and gives space for their important contributions to our lives and the system. Cooperation and harmony don't happen overnight, but with patience, love, and a lot of determination, it can be achieved. So, to all of our dear listeners out there, please hear this. People with DID are capable, wise, protective, brave, resilient, kind, compassionate, loving, thoughtful, and so much more. Trust us and extend opportunities to us because of all that we have survived. And more importantly, because we still show up despite all of it. Know that we want to help, not harm. Trust that we are doing the work to heal and will be stronger for it. Know that we will take care of ourselves when we aren't okay, and that we will be back when we are. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast and learn more about DID. There is a price to the work we're doing, and we will continue because it is needed. The personal story we shared with you today illustrates a real-life situation that DID people routinely face because of misconceptions about DID. We want to change that, and we find it healing to use our voices now to advocate for ourselves and others when we were once silenced. You can help by sharing this podcast with a friend, family member, or a professional in your life. And for all of our friends out there that experience life as a system of selves, yous are worth fighting for.
So stay tuned for the release of season 5, which will showcase incredible survivor stories. We want to show the world how awesome and successful people with DID are through interviews with people that have done amazing things in their life, all while having a system of selves.
Yes, we are more than capable. We are unstoppable.
Until then, we invite you to join our mailing list if you already haven't. Please visit acoupleofmultiples.com to sign up so you will receive up-to-date information on the upcoming season and events that will be offered in the upcoming months.
Well, that's a wrap. More than ever, thank you so much for hanging out with A Couple of Multiples.
Today's episode is brought to you by
Healing Selves Therapeutics, PLLC, a mental health practice located in North Carolina, specializing in the treatment of dissociative disorders and trauma. Healing Selves is committed to serving the plural population through the utilization of EMDR, clinical hypnosis, expressive arts therapy, and other evidence-based practices.
Healing Selves was established in 2019 and currently serves North Carolina and Florida. We are committed to extending accessibility and currently accept most commercial insurances, Medicaid, and Medicare.
Today's episode is sponsored by Petals of a Rose, a short film about a day in the life of a woman living with dissociative identity disorder.
Petals of a Rose has received international acclaim for being an accurate and respectful depiction of DID. The most common response from DID systems being, "I've never felt so seen."
The film has subtitles available in 13 languages, and audio descriptions are included for the visually impaired.
Petals of a Rose is available to watch for free at www.dylancrumpler.com/watch-petals-of-a-rose. Thank you, dear friends, for spending time with us today.
We're so grateful for each of you and all the important work you're doing. Whether it's supporting others or navigating your own healing journey, we hope this episode brought insight, encouragement, and something new to consider.
If it did, we'd love for you to share it with a friend, your therapist, psychiatrist, or colleagues. It's one more step toward changing how the world understands DID.
And just a quick reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy. Listening does not create a therapeutic relationship with the hosts or any guest speakers.
Until next time, take gentle care and thank you for hanging out with
A couple of multiples.